We're going to focus on it today because, yes, there's a lot of crazy stuff being said on both sides of the political spectrum. Trillions of dollars of investment coming into America, the crypto industry exploding, and many other amazing things. U.S. Secretary Scott Bessent has said a lot about the U.S. economy and how this will affect the markets, all of which will undoubtedly contribute to XRP's future. In today's video, we will tie everything together. First, though, I would like to discuss this recent interview with Treasury Secretary Bessent claiming that the GDP will increase more quickly than the debt. This is quite insane. It's clear that this is a fantastic message. For the past 20 to 30 years, the United States has been stuck with ridiculously high debt levels. It has, of course, been significantly outperforming GDP growth for some years. Thus, this is a huge problem. I will play this footage quickly. Pay attention. There is the possibility for the debt to increase. However, it is more crucial that we accelerate economic growth. What has transpired over the last 4 years, and you are aware of what we inherited. We've been working to reduce spending and increase revenue in order to grow the GDP faster than the debt, which will stabilize the debt to GDP ratio, which, as Secretary Yellen and I agree, is the most crucial number. Of course, as with any other business, you won't last long if you have more debt than revenues. I inherited a 6.7% deficit to GDP, which was the highest deficit when we weren't in a recession or a war. And since it impacts taxpayers, I believe it is just illegal that the U.S. government was permitted to run at a deficit for this long. It has an impact on the people who genuinely provide funding for the government to carry out its duties. What gives then, if they're not performing their duties and we're not experiencing a recession or a third world war? What's happening? It's simply unmonitored. A lot of corruption spending has already been made public by USAID and numerous other organizations that were wholly dishonest. But it is clear that something has to be done about it. The most radical and absolutely crazy thing to do in this situation is to raise GDP, which could potentially increase our revenues. Yes, reducing government spending is the answer. You can increase revenue and make investments in important sectors of the economy that will expand rather than contract. Yes, that's most likely the best course of action. However, Treasury Secretary Bessent also spoke about present agreements and the kinds of agreements that will undoubtedly boost the economy. I'll play this footage quickly. Then when he's finished, I'll give more background since it's necessary. But pay attention. Qatar doesn't. Saudi Arabia doesn't. The UAE doesn't. All of them are trying to get money. They'd like to. They have 10 years. I take it they're doing it all? Furthermore, these trade agreements will be the primary driver of long-term economic growth, correct? Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, China, and Europe have all made investments in important American sectors, including artificial intelligence, oil and gas, and cryptocurrency. The economy will grow as a result, and industries that are inventing and expanding quickly will naturally benefit from a growing GDP. Just consider the fact that we have previously witnessed the impact of tech stocks during times of economic expansion or boom. We receive trillions of dollars from each of these countries. What do you think will happen with those trillions of dollars? We do know, however, that artificial intelligence will lead to a huge increase in productivity. There will be a significant increase in both productivity and automation. Businesses will be able to generate more income as a consequence of that. It will be fantastic. And we will basically reach a stage where we can build factories here in the United States and cease sending them to China or other countries abroad. It is also possible to fully automate certain factories. Workers are not even required to operate the factories. They can simply fix the robots, check that the automations are operating properly, and then optimize them. This, in my opinion, is a tremendously smart course of action. Many people become alarmed because they believe that artificial intelligence, a new technology that will soon be developed, will likely replace them in their current positions. I can assure you that it will cause a full disruption. Some jobs will disappear. However, a lot more jobs will be created, similar to what happened with the internet. People will have to be in charge of instructing these AI technologies on how to manage them. And I believe that the standard for those employed by businesses will no longer be a customer service representative, but rather someone who optimizes artificial intelligence, guides, programs, or simply ensures that it can perform its functions. Additionally, these professions won't be particularly difficult because all you have to do is fill in a few prompts, like you do with Chat, GPT, or Grok at the moment. If you use such tools, you can configure it precisely as you need to. Additionally, this will enable exponential growth for all sizes of businesses. And I believe that you will likely succeed in the next 5 to 10 years if you truly use this technology to your advantage rather than being scared of it. Indeed, cryptocurrencies will play a significant role in this new world since they reduce transaction friction, particularly for XRP, and because global trade is expanding rapidly. The volume of business we conduct with foreign nations. It's going to continue to be insane, and cryptocurrency will be the solution. We want smooth, instantaneous transactions that let us process and simply transact with one another instantly. Cryptocurrency also enables us to have a ton of amazing smart contracts and other features built into the public blockchain, which naturally let us perform other really cool tasks. Having said that, Scott's remarks basically explain what's going on with all of these billions of dollars in investments, which will eventually amount to trillions of dollars. The market sentiment is truly changing, and as a result, we're essentially witnessing a total 180 from earlier instances. When you look at this chart, you can see that the bullish market sentiment is really rising at the moment. As you can see, everything is perfectly aligning. However, I would like to draw attention to the fact that, typically, when we are on the verge of a peak in sentiment indicators, there is a swift collapse that follows. This is because institutions are examining these sentiment indicators and attempting to capitalize on them. In my opinion, there will undoubtedly be traps placed, so I'll go into greater detail about the specifics of how that occurs and what you guys need to watch out for. However, you must know this at this moment. Over the next 6 months, 35.9% of individual investors said they were bullish about the stock market. This percentage has increased by 15 points in the past 2 weeks. Naturally, at the same time, the proportion of retail investors who are bearish has decreased by 15 percentage points. Additionally, the record string of 11 weeks in a row with 50% or higher bearishness has ended. Thus, we are witnessing a turnaround of mood in the stock market. Now, I'll say this. Because Bitcoin surged beyond 100,000, we all know that we've been living in a more avaricious world in the near run. XRP has experienced a good rally. Currently trading at about 240, there is a lot of interesting material there, and we can also see that XRP ETFs are being applied for at the moment. People are therefore quite optimistic about these things. Many wonderful things, in my opinion, are on the horizon. The price will soon increase. People are becoming little more avaricious, you know. It is something to keep an eye on right now. However, I had to address the technical aspects first. Alright, so there are some very significant developments for XRP taking place here. As you can see, I've been regularly purchasing all of these red days. You know, I purchased it yesterday for $230. In fact, we got a pleasant little pump up today, up around 3%. Yes, we are up on our positions.